Good morning and welcome to On the Record with Buddy Cianci. This morning my guest is a person who, well, if you know anything about gambling, you know who he is. And he's the chairman of Twin River Corporation, which is the which is the company that runs the casino and also runs Newport Grand. As you know, that recently there's been a lot of talk about expanding their holdings here, or really transferring the Newport Grand, or the Newport Casino, if you can call it that, into Tiverton. And there's been a lot of public debate about that, and most likely it's going to be in the news for a long time, for the next year or so. So I want to welcome John Taylor to On the Record with Buddy Cianci. Thanks for being here, John. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Casinos, a big business. You run the casino in Lincoln, and also you have the Newport Grand. You want to close that Newport Grand. You were unsuccessful in getting Newport to vote for the table games last year, and you want to go to Tiverton. Why?
Well, the vast majority of Newport Grand's customers live in southeastern Massachusetts and Aquidneck Island, in competitive markets, which this one is growing more competitive every day. Convenience is key, and moving or bringing up a casino in Tiverton would make it far more convenient for the players to get there, and therefore more successful.
How much did I noticed that you tried hard last year to get the Newport residents to vote and approve gambling or the table games, and now you couldn't do that, and as a result, Newport now will be closed if you have your way. Correct?
Correct.
Big question to me or to other people is, yeah, it might be great to have a casino in Tiverton, and especially the way you've designed it, but then something has to happen with Newport. They're getting I don't know how much money a year, $1 million a year from the casino. They voted to reject that. You've decided to close it if you have it your way. What's going to happen to the building there? What's going to happen to the people in Newport?
So first and foremost, most importantly, are the employees of Newport Grand.
Right.
And what we've said is that any of those employees that, if we're successful in this conversation that we're having in Tiverton, if they would like to move to the Tiverton Casino, we'd love to have them. So first and foremost, the employees will have opportunities in Tiverton. What we've said is that if we don't have a buyer for Newport Grand, if we're successful in Tiverton,
not as a casino obviously, but as a commercial
real estate development, if we don't have a buyer, we will scrape the building, so that the city of Newport isn't left with a white elephant, if you will, in that location. And the other thing we've said is that if there's discussions that the city and the state want to have around economic development in that part of Newport, in the interim, we're happy to participate in those conversations to see what might be possible there.
What do you think might be possible there?
Well,
shopping center, hotel?
You know, there's a lot of vacant land at the bottom of that hill, a lot of off-ramps to nowhere, and I think at one point in time they had discussed maybe making a cross-island freeway or highway there. So there's a lot of vacant land at the bottom of the hill, and there's been discussions on and off through the years of whether that might not be an I-195 type of situation, but in Newport. So
what if you lost? And I don't want to bring any bad luck to you, but supposing you lost. Let's look at the loss. Let's say you lost in Tiverton next year, next November, when it goes on the ballot. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what would you do with Newport?
So we've said from the beginning, we acquired the business last July. Newport Grand, and we've said from the beginning that we're in a unique position where we can operate two gaming facilities in the same market, and there's a lot of synergies that exist, not only from an operational perspective and a management perspective, but also from a marketing perspective, and the ability to market to operate or to market two facilities in the same market is very powerful. So Newport players, now have the opportunity to participate in Twin River promotions, which, Twin River, much bigger gaming facility, much bigger opportunities for Newport players. So we always
you keep it going then. If you lost Tiverton, you keep it going as a slot parlor.
Absolutely, as a slot
the Newport
parlor.
People ought to be the first ones to be voting for the Tiverton operation, all right? Because they're going to. But what about their revenues? They're going to be $1 million short in revenues a year.
Yes. Well, it's a long period of time. If we're successful in November of 2016. We will not be operational in Tiverton until mid-2018. So there's ample time for the city of Newport to develop the property and hopefully develop a new tax base opportunity.
But you would be a participant in that economically and.
From a planning perspective, yes, but we're not going to own that land. If we're successful, we won't own that property, forever.
Oh, okay. So, but your idea is to not leave Newport hanging all by
Correct.
itself.
We try to be good neighbors in Lincoln. We're trying to develop our relationships in Newport and be a good neighbor there. And we'll strive to do that, right up to the time if and when we decide to leave.
Okay. Let's move on to the Tiverton operation. I noticed when I was reading my little research on the Tiverton casino debate, I noticed that you did kind of a grassroots thing. You decided that you would go to Tiverton. How did you pick Tiverton, by the way?
So, as we were considering the possibility of acquiring Newport Grand, we thought about, and we made it very clear to the citizens of Newport. You've voted twice. You've had an opportunity to expand gaming there on 2 different occasions, and it's pretty clear that you don't want that. We're not going to force this on you. Right. But we began to think, look, if we did own Newport Grand, is there a better location? And we looked up and down Aquidneck Island and up to the Fall River border, and there was really only one location where it was convenient, where the impact on the local community would be minimal, and where we thought we had an opportunity to have a conversation with the community, and not to say here we are, we're going to impose our vision on you for this, but let's talk about it, and we did that. I spent the summer in people's living rooms at their kitchen tables, just learning about Tiverton and learning about what might be possible. And the proposal we put before them was really based on those 40 conversations with 1,200 odd people. And
I'll tell you, I saw the plans, and it looks more like a library than it does a casino. It doesn't look as an imposing structure that is at the glitter and the neon signs and all. It doesn't have that at all. As a matter of fact, you would confuse it.
And there won't be any of that. I mean, one of the first things we heard was, don't put Las Vegas in our community.
That's right. Well, you can see on the screen the kind of care that was put in the development. That's the development there, is that right? That just was up on the screen.
Correct.
There. Okay, so you went around and you did really a grassroots effort. I remember my radio show, I was talking to you and talking to other people. And you did go to house just about. You kind of knocked on doors and went in people's living rooms and meetings of organizations.
Whoever would have us, and
a political campaign, knocking on doors.
But it was really information gathering and developing a relationship with the community. And again, we didn't go with a preconceived notion of what we were going to build. We said, what could you feel comfortable with?
So how many slot machines are going to be there, and then how many? I think 32,
1,000 slot machines, 32 table games, a sit-down restaurant, 3 grab-and-go style.
Any hotel?
80 room hotel.
Okay. So, and by the way, this is only a stone's throw from the Massachusetts border. Am I right?
It's about 400 feet.
Right on Route 81, is it?
Yes, William S. Canning Boulevard.
And is it not? It's not near anything it's not near any downtown Tiverton. It's not near any of
it's in the northern part of Tiverton. There is residential. There are residential neighbors who we've been trying to talk to as best we can. There's been a traffic issue in that part of town that we think we can be part of the solution for, and we've gotten commitments from the state that a roundabout that had been planned for the last 10 years will finally be built. We're going to, part of the program is $4 million to the town of Tiverton.
Well, some of them doubt that. Some of them, they don't doubt it, but they question it because it has to be, when you do go to referendum, not this November, but next November, it has to be approved by the state voters and the Tiverton voters. And is it in the legislature that they get $4 million a year, or is it dependent upon your reputation with Lincoln and on revenues?
As you know, in Rhode Island, the relationship between the gaming facility and the host community is codified or in the law. And one of the suggestions by a council member is that can we really trust that this revenue will be there?
Maybe Silver is his name.
Sousa.
Sousa. Okay.
And he raises good issues. I've suggested to him and to the council that one need, to look to Lincoln to see what kind of relationship they've had with the state.
They're pretty happy with you guys.
I think Lincoln is happy. We try to be a good neighbor, but their relationship with the state of Rhode Island has been very stable, and there hasn't been an attempt to try to change the economic relationship between the town of Lincoln and the state of Rhode Island. So there will be further discussion with the town around the economics of the relationship, and I'm sure we'll get to a place where everyone will feel comfortable. And if the residents don't feel comfortable on election day, they won't vote for it. So we've got to work hard.
Have you done any polls to see just where you stand right now?
I've been in 40 plus homes with on average 20 or 30 people. We've done questionnaires, we've done some polling, and the general feel that we get are people who are open to this. I mean, they wanted to know more about what we were going to offer. So last Monday night, or 2 Monday nights ago, we made our first formal proposal, which was based on the feedback that we've gotten, and I think people are open and receptive.
And so the $4 million has got to be really big to a town like Tiverton, number one. Number two, you tried to keep the plans or the building, the casino framework within the context of the desires of the people, so it doesn't look like a casino. And what about police? And you also agreed to pick up all police and costs.
So what we do at Twin River, which really impacts or doesn't impact the town of Lincoln. So when we went through a big expansion in 2007 in Lincoln, and at that time there were 36 police officers in the town of Lincoln. We went through a major expansion then. In 2012, we added table games. We doubled the number of employees we have as a barometer of how big it was. There's still the same number of police officers in the town of Lincoln, and that's because we pay 24/7 police details at our own cost, 24/7 EMT details at our own cost. So we have 100 security and surveillance people in Lincoln. Most all of them are retired or existing law enforcement. So the vast majority of the issues that we have, we're dealing with ourselves. And fortunately, the town of Tiverton invited the police chief and the fire chief from Lincoln to come in and speak with them, as well as the town administrator and the town council president. So there's been some dialogue between these two communities, which are similar in a lot of ways.
They are. All right, so we're going to get into the possibility of this thing passing next year, and how long it will take, how many people will be employed, and what the economic impact for the state of Rhode Island will be. But right now, it is time for a break. We'll be right back with John Taylor, the chairman of Twin River, the casino you've probably been to, and he wants you to go to another one in Tiverton pretty soon. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On the Record with Buddy Cianci. My guest this morning, John Taylor, chairman of Twin River, and they want to expand their operation into Tiverton to close Newport, but that requires a vote from you, the voters of the state of Rhode Island, and especially the voters of Tiverton, because they have to accept that Tiverton will get about $4 million a year, and John Taylor just explained to everybody that they've been around to the kitchen tables and in and out of meetings for the past year or so, but now the rubber's going to start to hit the road. Because you've got the proposal, the town council has voted to put it on the referendum. They'll ask the legislature. I'm sure the legislature will put it on the ballot. And so a year from now, less than a year from now, we'll know whether we're going to have gambling in Tiverton. What are you going to be doing to promote your operation or your referendum? And I want to talk more about revenues. I think one of the big things is how much revenue the state of Rhode Island will get if, in fact, Tiverton is built, because it has to be passed by the statewide voters and also Tiverton. Why should I, as a Rhode Islander, vote for this referendum to be successful?
So today, the state of Rhode Island generates about $25 million a year from Newport Grand.
Okay.
And in a growing competitive market with the possibility of 2 destination casinos in Taunton and Brockton, that number is likely going to come down if those 2 casinos are built. The
Massachusetts problem.
The Massachusetts problem. If we're successful in our discussions with voters statewide and locally, even with 2 casinos in the southeastern zone, the state's
Massachusetts,
in the Massachusetts southeast, the state share goes to between 50 and 65 $1 million. So it's a significant uptick even with competition.
So it's a significant uptick even if Newport closes, Tiverton opens. You're not making any guesses, but you think it'll be probably in the $50 to $60 million range.
Yeah, and this is not a guess. We've commissioned a third party to look at the markets under various scenarios, including full-on competition in Brockton and Taunton, and that's
open. If they're open,
if they're
still
open,
going to do.
if they're open. If they're not open, if there's no competition in the southeast zone, it goes into the upper 60s.
Wow, so that's a big number for the people of Rhode Island. It'll be another 30 to 40 million dollars in revenue. Number one, I mean, in addition to what because you have to factor out what Newport gives, so $30 million, and Tiverton gets $4 million. Now, how will you, in those numbers, I imagine you're in this business, because you own other casinos around the country, don't you?
We do. We own the Hard Rock Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi, which is right on the Gulf of Mexico, and we own a horse race track just outside of Denver, Colorado, and 13 off-track betting licenses.
Wow. Now, tell me, let's talk about Twin River. How will that be affected by a Tiverton casino? Because you do great. You're the third. Gambling is like the third largest revenue source in Rhode Island right now. We're dependent upon it. And I can remember professors coming on my radio show saying, "Oh, if Somerville or if these other places open, we're going to lose $130 million." You're not into that thinking, are you?
Well, you know, we're into the thinking of providing the best customer experience we can.
Okay.
And we've tried to differentiate our product offerings wherever possible. So. We recently announced and opened non-smoking table games. We're about to open a poker room.
And now I saw that. You just how many poker tables will you have up there?
16.
16 poker tables.
Yeah. So wherever we can differentiate ourselves, we've spent millions of dollars training our employees on how to deliver a great customer experience because we know competition is coming. And we know they're probably going to try it, but we want them to come back. So Plain Ridge opened in July, late June, early July. And
Massachusetts slot parlor.
Massachusetts slot parlor. Our own internal estimates had us down 12%.
Never happened.
And the state had estimates which I think were a little bit higher, and we're probably in the 7 to 8% down range at the moment. Now, competition, you know, is going to be there. It's going to increase. We can't, you know, rest on our laurels. We got to keep working. But so far, we've been able to successfully compete against them.
Well, Plain Ridge didn't have the impact that it was supposed to have. In fact, their estimates, they're off $30 or $40 million, I think, in their estimates for the year. If it projects out, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I know they're not making what they thought they were going to make.
Right. Right. Again, from our perspective, we focus on the things that we can control, and we can control our customer experience, we can control our marketing, we can control the types of product offerings we have, and we're continually looking at ways to provide differentiation for our customers.
Now, John, the state of Rhode Island gets 61 cents or 62 cents of every dollar that's bet out there
on
the
machines,
profits, on the machines. And it's on the table games, it's got a pretty good deal on that one. It's only 16%. 17%.
Well, the national average for table games is 12.
Okay, so
and the reason why that rate is lower, it's a labor-intensive product.
It's not just a video game. There's got to be a person there that deals.
Right. So when we went to the voters in 2012, we had 900 people that worked at Twin River. Today we have 1,800. So there's a lot of people involved in the operation of providing those tables.
How much more revenue have table games provided for the state of Rhode Island's bottom line?
So overall, we're doing just over $100 million in table games. So at 16%,
so 16 million. And did you notice a reduction in your slot playing as a result of the introduction of table games?
The market, obviously, with competition has been softening a little bit. But we see a phenomenon, something that we call companion play, where a table game player may bring their significant other who would prefer to play slots. But if we didn't have tables, they would probably be going to Connecticut to do that. So we actually believe that some of the success that we've had has been based on, again, this product differentiation.
When will your hotel, I noticed that you got permission. Originally, the state was very reluctant, and especially the Providence people were very reluctant to have you build a hotel out at Twin River. Now you got permission to build a hotel because it would be geared just to, you know, obviously Twin River. And the Providence people were afraid that the hotels would not be filled in Providence, which I always thought was a false assumption. But anyway, you are building the hotel. When will that be up and ready?
So we are in the final stages of getting local permitting approvals, and we hope to break ground in the spring.
And will that be a flag hotel, or will it just be your hotel?
It will be
be
most likely flagged. We haven't.
You haven't picked the flag yet? It's not going to be a Marriott?
It's going to be a select service. So think Hampton Inn at that level. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not going to be a full-service hotel.
No. We you know, this is an amenity for primarily for our table game players who've been asking us, you know, for a place to be able to.
There won't be a restaurant in the hotel.
All the food and beverage will be handled out of the casino.
Okay. Now let's go to another subject. I don't know if you've done. I can't imagine you're not doing polls. Maybe you don't want to share them. But where do you think it's I think statewide you're okay. I think statewide it's been proven time and time again over the past few years that the people of Rhode Island will vote for the expansion of table games. You know, they've done it. And it's to their benefit because more revenue will come in, especially with the competition from Massachusetts. But what about Tiverton? Have you done any polls there? I asked you this before, but I'm trying to get you to give me your honest opinion of where do you think you stand right now in Tiverton as to getting this thing done.
Well, again, you've done
your homework.
We've done a lot of research. Yeah. We've done of various types, and I do believe there's an openness to this concept. I think there's more conversation that will be necessary with the town and its residents, and we're committed to continue to do that. But I think there's a strong possibility that they'll support this.
Tell me, what are you? And you already told us what you're going to do if, in fact, it fails with Newport. You'll have to just dress that place up or do something with it. Am I correct?
Well, again, we've committed that if there's not a buyer for that building when we're ready to leave, that we would scrape it so that the town.
But if you lost Tiverton, you wouldn't close Newport.
No.
You'd have to dress that up a little bit, but you'd have to be satisfied with just slots, and that would not be good for revenues in the state of Rhode Island.
We've been putting capital into Newport.
Yeah.
There are little things that we thought we could do to it.
Like take the slot sign down that everybody wanted down.
Right.
And also you've cleaned it up a little bit in there. All right, let's go on to what are your plans politically, and I mean that with a small p, maybe a big P, in order to get this passed? Are you going to be going on a advertising campaign, or do you think that your efforts are going to have to be just really centralized in Tiverton?
No, I think we have to bring the conversation to voters statewide. I think that'll come, you know, later after the General Assembly hopefully acts on this. But in the meantime, we're starting to spend more time with chambers of commerce and rotaries and things like that, just to talk about what this will be about and what it means. So we'll put ourselves out there much the same way we have in Tiverton, and we'll continue the dialogue with Tiverton as well.
How many jobs would this new casino in Tiverton provide for the people of Rhode Island once it's done? You got obviously a couple of phases. You've got a construction phase, which is going to be hundreds of jobs, I would think. And then you're going to have money spent for permitting in Tiverton. They're going to get a lot of money for the permits. And then you're going to have to hire people to run that place. What are your projections on employment, additional employment in the state of Rhode Island, if this is voted on by the people of Tiverton and Rhode Island to make it happen in next November?
So in terms of operating that facility, the hotel and the gaming side of things, we think it's between 550 and 600 licensed employees.
What do you mean by licensed employees?
Yeah, so a lot of our employees prefer to work part-time.
Okay.
So when we say licensed, in order to work in a gaming facility, you have to have a license from the state of Rhode Island. So that's a measure for us of employees and people with licenses on a full-time equivalent
How
basis.
about a person who does waitressing work
They need a license.
They know a gaming license or a license from the
Yeah.
lottery. Okay.
But on a full-time equivalent basis, it's about 375 to 400. And we've got 150 licensed employees at Newport Grand and about 110. So it's a significant
So
jump.
you'd be about 500 or 600 employees there, basically?
Yes.
That includes security, and that includes the people.
Table games,
Table
slot
games,
operations,
slot operations, food and beverage, all that, hotel.
Hotel. Yep.
So it'll be 600 jobs, 5 or 6. That's a pretty good number. Those people paying income taxes to the state of Rhode Island every year, or every month, or every week, whatever.
And we've committed to try to hire from Tiverton. So first, and I mentioned this earlier, first and foremost, anyone that works at Newport Grand that wants to come to Tiverton should have. Many of those people have been working there for 20 years, so they deserve the right to come with us there. But beyond that, we've committed to a couple of job fairs, and we're going to try to hire locally. And a lot of our table game dealers that we've hired at Lincoln, we trained ourselves, so we think we can do that.
All right, we're about out of time. So how much money will we get once you got this thing going? You get another 30 or 40 $million dollars
Exactly.
a year to Rhode Island. Tiverton gets 4,500,000, 600. You haven't even factored that in, have you? The jobs, the income taxes, and all that. That's extra. All right, we'll see what happens. 1 year from now, we'll know whether or not John Taylor was successful with Twin River to bring gambling to Tiverton, and we'll see how he handles it in the next year. And hopefully you'll be voicing your opinion on it. Well, thanks so much for being with us, John Taylor. And thanks much for watching this morning, 6 News on the Record with Buddy Cianci. And stay tuned for more great programming on your channel, on Channel 6, your ABC affiliate for Southeastern New England. Have a great afternoon.